You're new to No Weight Loss Required. This is Sunday coffee. I don't have any makeup. I just woke up. I've got my cup of coffee. I'm a lovely coffee drinker, and I hope that you also have something, a beverage to enjoy, because that's what this is really about. So, in this little series, we're really talking about something I call the Hokey-Pokey and learning how to do the Hokey-Pokey um, when we're trying to deal with or heal. Really is what we're talking about. So, what I'd like to do is just recognize that the Hokey-Pokey is a tool um, that's going to help us move from this fixing to healing. And the main question that I want to ask everyone, and you can use the chat. So for those that are visiting, please feel free to use the chat. What are you healing from? So kind of ask yourself, like, I'm moving from fixing myself, fixing my diet, fixing my diabetes, fixing my weight, fixing to healing. So what am I healing from? Not quite sure where to put my notes. And when you come up with that answer, I'd like to share kind of how I see us in the healing journey. So, we're healing from the harm caused by weight and diabetes stigma. And stigma is the medium. So, remember back in like high school or college biology class where we took like a little swab and we rubbed bacteria on this like petri dish? Think of it as that. It's the medium by which stigma that this our deepest fears grow. So stigma is the medium that our deepest fears grow in. And somehow our weight and our worth are connected. So that's the stigma, that's weight stigma. Somehow diabetes and our worth are connected. And that's the stigma of diabetes. So if we think about it, if I lose weight, my worth would increase. If I had a lower A1C, my worth would increase. And that's really the stigma that we're trying to A, see, and B, disconnect from. So your worth increases if you lose weight. Your worth increases if you eat less. Your worth increases if you're more fit. And again, we're seeing this link that, if I lost weight, then my diabetes would be, then I would, I would be more valuable. I would be right. I would be good. I would be whatever. And you can start kind of seeing how, like, very um, fraught that belief is. These fears have been validated by society, medical care, the media, clothing, strangers, families, coworkers, and basically most of us have seen or experienced that our life experience really validates that being fat or being at your current weight is in some way wrong. Ow. And so when we talk about how do I heal, um, how do I heal from weight stigma? Um, what does that look like? What does healing look like? So, first and foremost, I always want to let people understand that what I am trying to move people towards. So, not everyone feels this way, but what I am trying to move people towards is acceptance. I'm trying to move people towards this idea that weight and diabetes stigma exists and that we have to accept that it exists. It's present. And I also really want to explain or highlight that acceptance is not a singular thing. It's actually a complex emotion, and there's lots of parts to acceptance. And I have simplified them into 5, and I call it the 5 Gs of acceptance. And I will link to the article that I've written about the 5 Gs of acceptance. Now, we're going to start with the first 3 Gs and really start understanding how they can show up and manifest themselves. It's a great time if you have any questions that you'd like to put in the chat, you're welcome to do so. But the first G of acceptance is feeling grumpy. It's okay to feel grumpy. That like the step before me is changing my diet. It's okay to feel grumpy that weight stigma exists. It's okay to feel grumpy that diabetes stigma exists. It's okay to feel grumpy. Grumpy and being pissed off are okay. You can be pissed off that weight stigma exists. You can be pissed off that, this sense of, that your worth is somehow tied to it. That's a very reasonable thing to feel. And it's one of the 5 Gs of acceptance. We can also feel guilty. So we can feel guilty that, this is present. I'm taking responsibility and that responsibility is landing as guilt. I did this to myself or I participated in some way. You can feel guilty that you ate something that made your blood sugars go up. You're allowed to feel guilty. But guilt is part of acceptance. And for many people, they feel guilty for being angry that weight stigma exists. So for many people, this feeling of guilt and grumpiness, they coexist. And that's okay. They can coexist. You can feel both grumpy and guilty at the same time. But the guilt, again, is somehow my self-worth is tied to my weight or my eating or my diabetes, and we feel guilty about that. Like, it if we believe it to be true, then we feel guilty that we've done something to create this connection. And the last G is grief. And grief is like letting go. It feels like loss. It's letting go of that grumpiness. It's letting go of that guilt. It's stop pursuing weight loss. And when we feel that grief, that letting go sensation, that's grief. So if you say, I am trying to heal my relationship with food, and that means I'm not going to think about it, that can come with a sense of grief. Because what am I going to think about? I am not going to feel guilty that my A1C is X or that my blood sugars are Y. That guilt, that sense took up a lot of space in your life. And if you let go of that, there's going to be a sense of loss. Well, what am I supposed to feel? The other two kind of things that winds up often coming is that when we experience that sense of grief, that loss, um, a lot of times we're slowing down because our life is not going super fast. We're making more space, more time. We're slowing down and we're leaning into this idea that um, you don't have to go 100 miles an hour. You don't have to do everything. You're enough as you are. And that slowing down can often create this sense of grief. Grief bubbles up in the space that slowing down created. Many of my clients share that they have a sense of grief when they take charge of their health. Instead of being told what to do, they make all the decisions and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm the boss. Yeah, there feels like a lot of responsibility with that. And they experience a sense of grief that I'm not being told what to do anymore. I'm making the decisions. Letting go of these deeply held, beliefs and fears, there's a sense of grief that comes with that. When we let go of those, we have this sense of grief. With letting go, there's an emptiness that comes with that. And when we look at the 5 Gs, we recognize, wow, you know, grumpy, guilty, and grief, those are very strong and heavy um, feelings. They're really they're tough. But as we push up, the next feeling is glee, weight lifted. On the other side of grief is glee, weight lifted. And on the other side of glee is gratitude. But when we get to that grief, that sticky, hard, dark, deep feeling that's hard, a lot of times this is where the diet culture industry starts turning around and saying, like, well, if you did a cleanse or you tried intermittent fasting or you lost some weight or you took this or you did this, that's really where they're trying to sell you. When you're experiencing that grief, that openness, that, oh my gosh, I'm really feeling my feelings right now. And that's the moment where diet culture is going to pitch you. Don't feel grief. Don't feel it. Do this instead. And one of the things about grief is you can't fix grief. Grief is not something that you can fix. And that groan over here was Scarlet, my dog. And you can't weight loss your way out of grief. You can't increase your fiber out of grief. You can't strength train your way out of grief. Um, yeah, we have to be with grief. And sometimes we actually have to be with the grief of other people. And we're going to talk about that at the end. But being with grief really requires capacity. It requires us to have capacity. And one of the things that I want to kind of highlight here is that it takes time to untangle the knot of stigma. Stigma is a knot. It's not a problem to be fixed, it's a knot. And when we have these threads of weight and we have this thread of diabetes, we can see, oh, how stigma has knotted up in my life is different than somebody who doesn't have diabetes. So stigma is a knot and we untangle the knot. There's not a way to untangle the knot. Everyone's knot is different. It's unique to each person. Um, and because of that, healing takes time. It takes time to increase our capacity. It takes time to untangle the knot of stigma. It takes time to kind of do this work. And again, not anything that diet culture is really promoting. It's turning around and saying, oh, we got this quick fix, do it for 30 days. And that'll make you better. From what? What are you being better from? And this is, again, you can see the fixing mindset in that rhetoric. We don't we don't make grief better. And so in this, the 5 Gs of acceptance, we are really not trying to um, make grief better. We're trying to be with grief. And that's why I talk about the Hokey-Pokey. So we finally got here. Yay! And the Hokey-Pokey is a way, and it's a silly way to think about, um, how do I increase my capacity? How do I be with grief? And just like the song says, you put your right foot in, you take your right foot out, you put your right foot in and you shake it all about. We're going to do the same thing with grief. We're going to touch into grief and we're going to pull back out. You don't live in grief and we don't ignore it either. But we're recognizing that grief is present and we're touching into grief and we're pulling out. We're not living there. And you can actually do this for any of the 5 Gs. Because anytime you touch into your grumpiness and you pull back out, you touch in and you pull back out, or your glee or your gratitude and you pull back out. We don't live in these states, but we want to recognize that they're present. And this idea of touching in and pulling out, that's really the hokey pokey. And that's what it's a silly way to remind ourselves, oh, if I've really been grumpy about this choice, whatever it is, or this blood sugar, or something that did, or something that didn't happen, if you've been grumpy for a long time, you're living in grumpiness. You're not touching in and pulling out. We're not touching into the event that is creating the sense of loss, this sense of frustration, which isn't in alignment with our values. We're turning around saying, oh, this thing happened and that isn't in alignment with my values. There's grief there. Like, oh, that's sad. Now, for myself and for my clients and the work that I do is I talk a lot about somatic nutrition as a way to do the hokey pokey, as a way to increase our capacity. And one of the things that I find really important to understand is these feelings of, you know, grumpiness and guilt and grief, they can swirl around us and they can be very, very overwhelming. And when they're overwhelming, kind of reaching back in and doing a little somatic nutrition can help us feel our feelings and think our thoughts. Feel our feelings. When we feel our feelings, feelings are a sensation in the body. They're somatic. They're not a thought. You think your thoughts. And for instance, when we talk about that, we're describing sensations in our body. And at the end of this, I'm actually going to do a guided somatic activity. But when we feel our feelings, not trying to think them, when we feel our feelings, it actually helps us increase capacity. Now, I mentioned this earlier that sometimes other people project their grief or their grumpiness onto you, and sometimes we're really holding on to other people's grief. And this can happen when people make comments to you like, oh, you'd feel better if you exercised. And the sticky part is somebody is telling you to do something. You'd feel better if you exercised. And it actually creates a sense of grief because it feels like a disconnection. That comment, which may or may not be true, is them projecting, "I feel better when I exercise. You would feel better when you exercise." And that projection is it can really cause a lot of disconnection. It can feel really, really sticky. It can also feel very heavy because the unspoken part is, I would like you if you did this. I would like you we could hang out together if you exercise because I believe in exercise, so you should believe in exercise. Or I believe in an A1C of X, and you should believe that too. And so we're really recognizing that there is a disconnection happening here, not a connection. And that disconnection is what is causing the grief. I feel left out. I feel othered. And it can feel like 10,000 pounds. And seeing this false belief, is amazing to turn and say, like, oh, that person is telling me what to do, or I'm perceiving it as they're telling me what to do. You should exercise. And that's them projecting their thoughts and opinions on me. To be able to see that is like chef's kiss. Love it. It's hard to see it though. And being able to see it takes practice. Um, it's a false belief. And when we recognize, like, oh, this person is, projecting onto me and it does or doesn't feel good. And again, we're touching into that. That's that hokey pokey. We're seeing it for what it is and we're pulling back. We're seeing it for what it is and we're pulling back. We're not living there. We're seeing it for what it is and we're pulling back. And again, the belief that, your A1C should be X. it feels like disconnection. Your blood sugar should be why. It feels like disconnection. My blood sugars were never that high. It feels like disconnection. I do a 5K. I was able to download this app. And again, what's happening is the conversation is about them and their experience. It's not about you and your experience. The conversation is telling. It's not asking, "Well, what's your A1C? What do you do to help you, manage your blood sugars? What do you do to, be healthy? Like, what's your favorite health hack?" They're not inviting you into the conversation. They're actually pushing you out. And that's other people's grief. They're trying to fix grief by telling you what to do. And when we practice healing, what you're doing is you're not fixing anyone. When we turn around and we go, "Wait a second. I don't have to do anything. I get to make the shots. I get to, you know, I'm in charge." And you're not fixing anymore. But we're touching into the feelings of acceptance. And you could, in that situation, somebody's projecting, you may have the capacity to really be grateful. I'm so glad that you shared that. And I'm so grateful that you figured out what works for you. That's awesome. Many of us don't have that capacity. We need to practice the Hokey-Pokey a little bit more. But when we touch into a feeling like, oh, that comment really made me feel guilty. That comment really made me feel grumpy. We touch in and we pull back out. Yes, it did. That was your experience. There you go. And that's it. I'm not going any further. Um, but the more we touch in and the more we can touch into one of those 5 Gs of acceptance, the greater we're going to be, the greater our capacity. One of the things just to remember is that we build capacity kind of one moment at a time. It's not something that you can Geronimo into, and you don't fix it. It's really important to remember that you are not broken. You're untangling a knot, and we're untangling the very complicated knot of stigma. So now what I'd like to do is just lead us in a brief somatic experience so you can, kind of see like, oh, could I do, some somatic work and the hokey pokey? Could I touch into this by doing some somatic work? And again, somatic work is a way for us to be with our feelings. We feel our feelings, we think our thoughts. I'm not a therapist. I don't do thoughts, but I do spend time and encourage people to be with their somatic experience. So be with the feelings and sensations that are in your body. So how we do this is we place our healing hand on the place where we're feeling feelings. And for myself right now, I'm really feeling them in my stomach. So I'm going to place my hand um, on that space in my stomach. And I'm going to just kind of let myself be here and just describe the sensation that I'm feeling. So wherever your healing hand is, just close your eyes and notice, is it heavy or light? Is it dark or bright? Is it rough or smooth? Is it pulsing or solid? Is it moving or static? Is it deep or surface? Does it have a color? Is it tugging at you? Does it have a weight? Is it like 1,000 pounds or is it like a balloon? Describe the sensation that you are experiencing right now. And notice how that sensation may stay the same or change. So the sensation that I have is a pressure, and that pressure is in my stomach. And right now, the sensation I have is it's like a big balloon right now. It's very, very airy. So it feels like a balloon, like blowing up a balloon. And there's a pressure on the top of the balloon. Oh, and the color red is there. I don't know why. And I don't have to know why, that isn't it. But right now, I have spent just a few minutes being with the sensations in my body. I touched in, I'm pulling out. I'm not trying to make that kind of airy, spacious feeling with pressure on the top. I'm not trying to make it go away. I'm just saying it's here. And I'm not trying to figure out what it means either. I'm not trying to say, like, ooh, this means X, this means Y. And I'm not judging it. It's not right that it's present. It's not wrong that it's present. It's just present. And when we do this, we're actually building capacity. We're distinguishing sensations from interpretation, and we're really practicing that compassionate curiosity. We're touching in, we're pulling out. And when we do somatic work, we're also touching into that glee, that weight lifted. We're touching into that gratitude. Remember that you want to touch into all five G's, not just the first three. Because when we notice, oh, that felt great. Like, it felt like a weight lifted. It felt like X, it felt like Y. And that was a very pleasant experience for me. It can become a North Star, can really help you decide, like, "Oh, I'm doing this and I wanna keep doing this." The 5 Gs of acceptance are great. Again, I will link the article to that so you have that, and also a little bit more about somatic nutrition. Thank you so much for joining me for Sunday Coffee. Have a great day, everyone, and if you're in the Northeast, stay warm. Um, bye.